realize you were conservative at heart, and were there any outside influences that pointed you in that direction?
It's hard to count. So I mean, I was raised. I like to say I was born in the People's Republic of Boulder, but revolted into orthodoxy in early youth and grew up in Golden. So I was not very far from the Coors factory and knew about the Coors family's generous support for conservative causes for so long. But my dad, my grandma is a dyed in the wool FDR Democrat. My dad had always been a very rock-ribbed conservative responding to her. So I grew up with an interesting political background between the two of them, and I've always identified as conservative. I've always, felt the call to keep the good things in America and to help it grow. I really hate the way that the left has hijacked the term progressive because I think progress is a good thing, but it's not whenever you want the federal government and the bureaucracy to take over, and in my newest book, I define woke, and one of the aspects of woke is the preference for technocratic government. And the so-called progressive movement is all about a preference for technocrats over the people's elected representatives. And you see that never stronger than in the whole COVID pandemic when they came out and they said, we lied to you, but we lied to you for good reason because we were just doing white lies to protect you. And then it's like one thing after another. It was a lie. It was a lie. It was a lie where the origin of COVID was. It was a lie whether masks helped or not. It was a lie, that you should take the vaccine. One thing after another after another. And, I think that more than anything else has woken up so many Americans to the threat of this bureaucracy that has been unaccountable, unelected, divorced from the people. And I'm a guy who likes institutions. I'm a natural conservative. I want to trust the experts. But when the experts are pushing things like gender ideology and, critical race theory and climate alarmism, I'm like, no, these people are not real experts. And you have to go back to the real sources of information. You have to question the basic first principles, and you have to go to the source of truth as much as you can. And, I'm a conservative. I've always seen the source of our values being, Judeo-Christian heritage, which I studied a lot at Hillsdale, rooted firmly in the Bible and in Christian tradition and in, so much of the wisdom of the past. And I have a great respect for, I think most of us take modern life for granted. We tend to think, oh, if we were just to throw out the free market, if we were going to, follow Bernie Sanders, we'd still have our iPhones and our, refrigerators and our, our microwaves, our these small things that we live with, and they were made often in the 50s, but our lives are so infinitely better than they were 100 years ago or 200 years ago. And we just take it utterly for granted that the free market was the thing that enabled us to get there. If we kill the goose that lays the golden eggs, that's going to make things harder for our children, for their children, and for America going forward.
And Tyler and Neil, that is a great metaphor, killing the goose that laid the golden egg, because free enterprise is a flawed system, but boy, it is the best system in the history of the world. And it's so unfortunate that so many of our college students and just people on the street really don't understand that. This is Dr. David D. Shine. Thanks for joining me for this special edition of Saving America. Remember, a new Saving America show is aired on the Brushwood Media Network every Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Listen on any of the 16 network stations, Apple or Google mobile app, Apple CarPlay, TuneIn, Smart Speaker, and all smart TVs. Find more information at the brushwoodmedianetwork.com. Please be sure to join us each week. We welcome and love your feedback from our growing audience.